Welcome to High Capacity, the podcast that helps you expand your nervous system's capacity so you can have the career and the family and the goals and actually enjoy them. I'm your host, Michelle Grosser. I'm a trial attorney turned nervous system strategist. If your life is full by every measure and your nervous system is feeling it, this is your show. Every Tuesday, I'm here to unpack the nervous system science behind why you feel wired, overwhelmed, and depleted, and give you real tools to actually do something about it. Let's dive in. What's up? It's Michelle here. So glad you're with us today on High Capacity. We are going to be talking about mom guilt today. Yesterday was Tuesday as I'm recording this. Tuesdays and Thursdays are the days that I homeschool my kids. So on the front end, I try to set myself up for success. And that means I clear my calendar. So I don't do coaching calls on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I don't take client meetings. I don't take meetings with my team. I just block off my calendar because that time is theirs. And there was a time where I was trying to do homeschool in the morning and then take calls in the afternoon. And that was just not supportive for my nervous system. So I stopped doing that. And I try to protect that time. And about a year ago, our family bought a pool cleaning company. So we're also running that now, or a year in. So very much still that building phase. And right now, just the reality of a new small business is like, I'm the one running point on almost everything on the back end. So, if you had told me 10, 15 years ago when I was in undergrad studying PR or when I went to law school, that I would be coordinating pool repairs and managing pool repair technicians and sending out pool repair quotes and like all the customer questions and everything that comes with it, new customers, onboarding, all of that, you would have thrown me for a loop, first of all. So it's random, yes, but it's awesome. But the thing is, just the nature of what I'm doing in that business now is that people call in real time and like, I got to pick up the phone, right? That's where new business is. If I don't call them back, they're going to go find another pool cleaning company. So long story short, yesterday I was trying to homeschool and the phones would not stop ringing and my repair technicians were out and they had questions and there was issues and stuff coming up. And I was just being pulled in a lot of directions. I was being scattered, right? And you have all probably had days like that. It's like, I want to be present and do something. And at the same time, there's an email I have to respond to or a big project coming up or someone calls or they need something from me. And it might just take a few minutes, but it's pulling me away from where I feel like I actually should be, which for me was homeschooling my kids yesterday. And I just like through the day, I kept having to tell them like, hey, hold on a sec. I have to answer this call, right? Or can you try to figure that out on your own? I really need to get back to this person who needs me, or like hang tight, hold that story, right? Like hold your thought, let me finish this. And then I'd love to hear what you have to say. And I kept doing it like more than once, over and over. And every time I would look up from what I was trying to work on and just see their faces, right? A face that just wanted to show me something or tell me something or ask me something like, the gut, like that gut punch. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like that mom guilt feeling. And I just want to talk about it today because, this is something that I've coached so many women through and I still need it, right? I think this is something that happens because of how much we care. So I want to give you some really practical handles for mom guilt today, some mindset stuff. And then I think some like practical stuff that you can put into place when this comes up for you because it's just a reality, right? We have a lot going on. We're not able to do everything. Work-life balance is a myth. It's BS. So this is just going to happen sometimes. And it's really helpful when we can have tools when it comes up. So let's talk about our ability to feel guilt, what shame is, right? How we can experience these emotions without being hijacked by them or letting them just like run the spiral in our minds and make us feel like we're not good moms. Here's what we do most of the time with guilt, I think. We treat it like a verdict. We treat it like just evidence that we're not being a good mom, that we're failing, that we're going to mess up our kids, they're going to need lifelong therapy, like wherever we let our minds go with that, right? It's a signal that we think something is, fundamentally wrong with us. And then we usually do one or two things. We either can spiral into self-criticism, or we can kind of suppress and deny and work really hard not to feel those feelings. And neither of those actually helps, okay? And here's why. Guilt and shame are emotions, okay? I coach on expanding 5 areas of capacity. Today, we're going to work on emotional capacity. Guilt and shame are emotions. What does that mean? It means that before they are thoughts, right? Before the thoughts jump into our mind of like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. I'm messing up my kids. Before they become that story that you're telling yourself about what's going on and the kind of mom you are and all those things, they're nervous system states, right? They live in your body first. And with shame in particular, when shame gets activated, you guys, your nervous system responds in the same way that it responds with a physical threat. So if someone was trying to break into your house, or if, you were getting fired from your job, like shame does the same thing in our bodies. Our cortisol spikes, our sympathetic nervous system starts ringing the alarm bells, right? Our window of tolerance shrinks, and we go into this self-protection mode, which for a lot of us, especially those of us who are high achieving, it can look a lot like attacking ourselves or kind of shutting down all of that discomfort entirely. And that's why you can't think your way out of guilt. It's why you can't think your way out of shame. You can't logic your way into feeling better. You can't plan your way into feeling better, because you're not dealing with a thought problem. You're dealing with a nervous system state. And nervous system states require a different kind of response. So that's what we're going to go into Friday on our High Cap Friday. So come back for that, because I have a really specific, helpful tool for you when it comes to guilt. But for today, what I want you to walk away with is that not all guilt is the same, okay? This distinction is one of the most useful things I can probably give you, because here's the reality. There are 2 types of guilt, okay? 2 types of guilt, and they actually require completely different responses. So the first type of guilt is what I call productive guilt. Yes, guilt can be productive. This is good, okay? Productive guilt is a signal, and it's a really valuable signal. So let's say we do something that causes us to feel guilty, right? You yell at your kids, you snap at your husband, you say something without thinking, and it comes out and that just does not land well. And you feel guilty about it after, okay? That guilt is productive. It's productive. It's telling you something true. And this is what it's telling you. It's telling you that you acted out of alignment with who you say you are and how you want to show up in this world, okay? That's not a character flaw. That's just your conscience working correctly. This is good. Because when we get that little red flag of hey, we're feeling guilty, is this a sign that I acted out of integrity with who I say I am and how I want to show up? Yes. Okay, this is actually good guilt. It's productive guilt. And I mean that in the sense that it comes with an invitation, right? That productive guilt comes with an invitation for us to make things right? To do a repair, to apologize, to have a conversation, to ask for forgiveness, to plan better, make different choices next time, regulate earlier, whatever it is. But productive guilt moves us back into alignment, into the place where we're actually showing up how we say we want to show up, right? It's uncomfortable. I'm not saying it's fun. It's uncomfortable, but it's useful. Okay, so use it. That is productive guilt. The second kind of guilt is unproductive guilt. Okay, that does not come from being out of alignment. I usually see it coming from 2 places. The first place unproductive guilt comes from is comparison. Okay, it's just they say comparison is the thief of joy. Yes, this is from looking at the perfect things on Instagram or the curated things on Pinterest and feeling guilty that your house or your kids or whatever doesn't get the same experience, okay? That is not productive. That's, my kids' school lunch rabbit hole. It doesn't look like their lunch doesn't look like these perfect little animals, or they're not eating a gourmet meal at lunch, okay? All the people that seem to be doing things that you're not doing, that guilt isn't telling you anything true about yourself. It's just telling you that you've been spending too much time comparing your life to someone else's, what they're showing you about their life, right? And you just need to put some blinders on and stay in your own lane. And then the second kind of guilt that's really unproductive is a guilt that I see that actually stems from, it's kind of like a selfish guilt, to be honest. It's a guilt that comes from avoiding discomfort. So this is a guilt of like, you set a boundary and then you feel bad about setting the boundary because, you don't want to disappoint anyone or come off as rude or whatever it is, right? Or maybe you feel guilty because you declined an invitation and didn't go to someone's party, or you're saying no to a play date because you either don't want to go or you just don't have the capacity for it. But then you kind of feel guilty about it, right? Telling your kids no because you actually need to work right now. Like that kind of guilt doesn't mean you've done something wrong. It just means that you're uncomfortable, okay? And your nervous system is trying to protect you from that discomfort, which is okay, but you're not actually under threat, right? Sometimes we do have to disappoint people in order to protect our priorities. Sometimes we do need to speak up and, set a boundary or say when something is wrong, and other people aren't going to like it. And if we're feeling guilty about that, right, there's an invitation there for us to do some work. But that's not really productive guilt sitting in that, okay? If you run the caretaker capacity pattern, I think that this unproductive guilt probably feels really true for you. It might feel really familiar because it's the guilt of having needs. It's the guilt of taking up space. It's the guilt of like saying no when someone else or everyone else wants you to say yes and do the things and be there and carry it for them. And like that pattern runs deep. So it's worth understanding. If you don't know your pattern yet, go take the capacity pattern quiz. It's free. It takes like 2 minutes. The link is in the show notes, but it really ties back, to everything that we do here on the show. And that's where the values piece, I think, really comes in. If you did last week's High Cap Friday, where we talked about aligning your time and your energy with your core values, this is really going to click. Because think about your core values. When you're crystal clear on your priorities and your values and the things that you say are important to you, guys, the reality is that when you're crystal clear on your values, a lot of that unproductive guilt, it just kind of dissolves on its own. I don't know if you guys have been seeing on Instagram, Emma Grede. She's like the CEO of Good American and Skims and like 5 different companies. And she has 4 kids. And she's on a book tour. She just released this book called Start With Yourself, but I'm seeing it everywhere. It's all over my feed. But I saw this clip when she was in an interview promoting the book, and someone asked her if she experiences mom guilt because she's got 4 kids. She's the CEO of 5 companies, right? And her answer was essentially like, when you know what you value and you're actually making choices that are aligned with those values, guilt loses its grip because you stop guessing yourself because you've already done the work of deciding what matters, and then you're just living that out. But when your values are fuzzy, you guys, when they're unclear, when you haven't identified what your priorities are, when you're not protecting those, when you're not living in alignment with them, when you haven't actually sat down and gotten clear on what you're prioritizing and why, there's just too much, right? Everything feels like a potential failure because we can't be everything for everyone and we can't do everything for everyone. And every choice feels like evidence that we're getting it wrong to someone, right? That's not a guilt problem. That's actually a clarity problem. So yesterday I experienced mom guilt because I was telling my kids to like hold on when they were actually my priority, right? I was out of alignment. And I don't think that was unproductive guilt. Some of it was productive because my nervous system was flagging a couple things. One, I was trying to do too much at once and it was costing me and my kids something, right? That's useful information. If I'm protecting that day for my kids, then I have to set it up in a way where I'm resourced to show up in alignment with what I say my priority is that day. So maybe I need to get an answering service, right? Maybe I need to hire a VA to do some of the things that I was trying to do. Whatever it is, it's a signal like, hey, you're acting out of alignment here. What can you do to like come back into alignment, right? Not a reason for me to feel like crap about myself and beat myself up and spiral, but it is a signal that's worth paying attention to, okay? And then the part where I was short fused and irritated because I kept being interrupted by my kids when I was trying to get work done, like that's also productive, right? I want to respond differently. And that's where repair matters, right? Have a conversation with my kids later, connect with them, right? Acknowledge what was going on, apologize. Not because, again, I'm a bad mom. It's because I'm a mom with a really full life who is still learning how to figure it out and hold it all without, spilling onto the people that I love most. Okay. And here's another thing that I kind of want to add on to this because I think it's worth mentioning. And we do a lot of this work. I do it with one-on-one clients, but we also do a lot of this work inside of the capacity method and then inside of my alumni program, which is called Pattern to Present, which is all about capacity patterns. Self-criticism. The women that I tend to attract tend to be quite hard on themselves. Like raise your hand if that's true for you, okay? But here's the thing. When we respond to guilt and shame with criticism of ourselves, we're actually not helping ourselves do any better, right? And this is not like woo-woo or me just encouraging you. I'm going to give you the neuroscience on this. When we are self-critical, we're actually reactivating that same threat response in our nervous system all over again. So our inner critic might feel productive, right? It's like, oh, she keeps me in line. My inner critic keeps me accountable. My inner critic is why I work so hard. My inner critic is, she keeps me motivated. And it feels like if we're hard enough on ourselves, we're going to get somewhere, like we're going to finally get it right. But that's not what the research shows. The research actually shows that self-criticism keeps our nervous system in threat mode. So what does that do? It actually collapses our capacity even further. So it makes us less regulated, not more, right? The shame cycle just kind of perpetuates itself. So we feel guilty and then we criticize ourselves and our window of tolerance narrows and our capacity decreases. And then we're more likely to do the very thing we're feeling guilty about, right? It's a vicious cycle. So what do we do instead? Self-compassion. That's the alternative, right? I'm not talking about self-indulgence. I'm not talking about a pity party. I'm talking about actual self-compassion. That's what allows the nervous system to process guilt and actually move through it in a healthy way. It's not lowering the bar. It's regulating your nervous system enough that you actually have that space to be able to respond instead of react. And again, with the capacity patterns, if you tend to run either the architect capacity pattern or the warrior capacity pattern, this is probably the hardest part of the episode to hear because high standards are your baseline, right? I tend to run the architect capacity pattern. Yeah, I have high standards, right? Self-criticism for a very long time for me, starting somewhere in childhood, felt like the best motivation, the best way to achieve. The idea of just like extending myself compassion when I didn't get things right or I made a mistake or like messed up, that didn't feel right, right? And that was my pattern talking. So on Friday, again, come back for the high capacity Friday, because I'm going to give you a really specific tool for exactly this moment. When that guilt hits and the inner critic shows up, what to do. It's this really simple 3-part framework I'm going to walk you through during our high cap Friday. So come back for that. But here's what I want you to walk away with today, okay? Guilt is information. It's not a verdict, right? Your job isn't to get rid of the guilt. It's actually to learn to read it. So when guilt shows up, just ask yourself, like something happens, you're feeling guilty about it, right? We all know what that feels like. Super simple. Ask yourself, is this productive or unproductive? Is this productive guilt or is this unproductive? Am I genuinely out of alignment with my values? If so, awesome. Thanks for this awareness, right? This is productive. Now I can go make this right, elevate, right? Live into this highest version of myself and come back into alignment with who I want to be and how I want to show up. That's helpful. Or am I feeling guilty because I don't want to make someone else uncomfortable, or I'm comparing myself in my messy real life to like someone else's fantasy, unrealistic standard, right? And then get clear on your values, because clarity on those values is the antidote for so much unproductive guilt, unnecessary guilt. When you know what you're prioritizing and why, you stop second guessing every choice, right? When that self-criticism kicks in after the guilt, notice it. It's okay. Name it, right? Okay, I feel that inner critic chiming in right now. And then come back Friday because I'm going to give you a tool that actually helps your nervous system process all of that instead of perpetuate it. So you don't get stuck in this like spiral of I'm such a bad mom because of what I did yesterday. Let me just encourage you for a minute, right? You're a good mom. You care. you show up, right? You listen to podcasts like this one. We have a full life and I promise you're doing your best to hold it all. We're not going to get it right all the time. It's okay. It's not a failure, right? It's the whole thing. All right. So if you want to understand why guilt and shame have hit you the way they do and why maybe certain moments tend to send you into a spiral while it seems like other moms are just, I don't know, it doesn't bother them or they just kind of shake it off, probably your capacity patterns at work there. Go ahead and take the quiz if you haven't taken it yet. The link is in the show notes. Again, it's just a couple minutes. It's free, but it's going to tell you what your capacity pattern is, what your nervous system automatically defaults to when you feel like you're at capacity, right? When you're feeling overwhelmed or stressed or dysregulated or annoyed or whatever it is, activated. What does your nervous system automatically default to? What's the capacity pattern? And then I want to teach you what it means for how you experience emotions like guilt and shame. Okay. All right. So take that with you. You feel guilty. Is this productive or unproductive? Okay. If it's productive, go make it right. If it's unproductive, then ask yourself, am I comparing myself to others? Okay. I got to stop doing that. Or am I feeling guilty because I'm uncomfortable with someone else's disappointment or opinion or, name the emotion that's uncomfortable for us that we don't want others to experience because it makes us uncomfortable. All right. And then come back on Friday. I'm going to give you a really helpful 3-part framework inside of this High Cap Friday for what to do when your inner critic chimes in because of this kind of mom guilt and shame kind of thing. All right. I can't wait. I love y'all so much. Thanks for being here with us today. I'll talk to you soon.
If you love Mommy's Podcast, leave a review.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't taken the What's Your Capacity Pattern quiz yet, that is your next step. It'll tell you which of the 5 capacity patterns is driving your dysregulation, your exhaustion, your reactions, your stress, all of it. So you know exactly where to focus your energy first. It's free. It'll take you 2 minutes. The link for the quiz is in the show notes. And then come back on Friday for one practical tool, the high cap move to take into your week, because putting this stuff into practice is what is actually going to change things. All right, I'll see you on Friday.